It is the Etobicoke Lakeshore podcast, as my doggy just walked into the room. Hi, I'm Mike, and right there is the publisher of the Etobicoke Lakeshore Press, Roger Tumminieri. Hi, buddy. How you holding up?
Hey, great, Mike. We're doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Good. No complaints, my man. No complaints. I mean, it is what it is. Am I right?
You are right. There's not much we can do about it.
No.
I think we just got to keep our heads up high and remain hopeful.
I would agree with you, and I am. I think that what I'm noticing more than anything right now, by the way, is people coming together with a great deal of spirit. Look at this. My dogs just love to come in here when I'm on. Hi, baby. Oh, what are you two doing? My dogs are out of control.
This is the new normal. I'm expecting our boys to be crashing down my door any second now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. It's how we're all living.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun to share.
Just got to roll with it. Yep.
But I am proud of Canadians for participating, and the ones that aren't, I don't know what to tell you. You know, you have to be in this with us. I think maybe. You know. But one thing I will love to touch on, if you don't mind, is you sort of have you've got the pulse of what's happening in and around us in the community. What's really affecting businesses. And I thought maybe I'd get some insight from you on how everybody's doing out there and what some of the thoughts are.
Yeah, for sure. As we watch this sort of escalate over the news, it dawned on me pretty early on that this is going to have a tremendous negative effect on all of my customers. So small businesses in South Etobicoke, primarily along the lakeshore. So the other day, I called all of them. And I reached out to every single one who advertises with me, and even some who don't, just to offer my support, ask what I can do to help. Tell them I've got their backs. I don't know exactly how I can help yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And I pivoted a bit. I made some changes to my business model with the help of my wife, Jessica. She launched a couple of social media accounts. What
are those accounts?
Yeah, it's Instagram and Facebook. Etobicoke Lakeshore Press is the handle for both. We've kind of been off. We've been off social media for a while. I have my own reasons for that, but I think at a time like this, we need to be as connected and as engaged as possible within the community. So it took a pandemic to get me there, but now I'm back on social media.
Wow.
I've made some changes to the website just to offer more space to folks. And to answer your question, although it seems like an overwhelmingly negative situation, I hear a lot of hope in the voices of the customers that I talk to. And they too are pivoting. They're trying new things. They're trying to stay ahead of this curve, so to speak. And they're adapting their business models like all successful entrepreneurs should be able to do. I think we all got to think on our feet. And to use a sporting analogy, as a former quarterback, we all have to kind of call an audible at the line of scrimmage and deal with what's in front of us now. And although that situation seems to be changing by the hour or by the minute, I think everybody seems pretty nimble. And certainly here I am. I'm trying to crank out this April edition, and things change. Yeah. By the hour. I've had to pull content out, put new content in, try to figure out how to shape this edition, which I had planned it to be all about Mimico. And now I need to kind of take a step back and retool that in a way that's sensitive and relevant to the situation.
Which has to be tough, because by the time you go to print, as you point out, there's only so many things that we know as a community that we can talk about right now.
Absolutely.
And so that becomes a challenge, I'm sure. But what I do love about what you're doing is you're staying a hub in the community where you can hear what solutions are being made. I bet you've made a couple connections out there too. For people, look, you got to talk
certainly
to this guy, and you guys can talk, and this could maybe happen. I think that's really important, certainly in your role in the community.
I think so, and I think everybody has this appetite to help and support local businesses, but everybody's in the same situation. We're all on pause here. Economically, I don't think a lot of people are making a ton of cash right now, or maybe in a month or so it might kind of hit us, but everybody seems to want to support their local businesses, and I think that's great. I think we are going to come out of this on top, stronger than ever, and I think that the people who are sort of on the ground offering assistance, helping out wherever they can help out, whether that's socially with neighbors and elderly, or from a business perspective, just offering people whatever help they can. I think it's going to come back to them, uh, positively once we come out on the other side. And I think if I could just use one word to encapsulate what I feel. You talk about getting the pulse of the neighborhood. I think it's hope. I think people have a lot of hope,
Yeah.
and they're trying. And if we could just remain hopeful, we can get over this hysteria.
I genuinely love the optimism that I'm hearing in the South Etobicoke, Mimico, frankly, in Ontario. I think that, like we talked about off the top, the people that respect what's happening and are trying to respect one another, we're saving lives when we do that, of people that we all value in our lives and community. And that is something that was already part of the spirit that you would see any given day in that community. So that it wouldn't fade at this moment does not surprise me.
No, and I take a lot of inspiration from some of the folks who contribute articles to the magazine, and one individual who's a new editorial contributor. In fact, he joined us on the last episode of the Etobicoke Lakeshore podcast, is Dr. Timothy Codsey. And on that podcast, we stumbled upon some COVID-19 dialogue, and it inspired me to offer him some space in the magazine to write about COVID. And he's done so, and I'm going to publish it. And part of what his message is the fact that we're so fortunate in Ontario, and even in Etobicoke Lakeshore. Like, we've got more space than most people. We're not jammed together like
No.
other folks in a big city, even in Toronto. And there's just this spirit of goodwill, and I want that notion of hope to shine through in his article, and that's why I want to talk about it now on this podcast too, because I think it's just so important that people remain hopeful. We will get through this. We're going to do it together, and we're going to be okay.
Hey, do you mind if I read that thing aloud that I shared with you the other day that was sent to me?
Please.
It's a really beautiful poem that came out in 1869 after a world pandemic, and it was written by just an amazing mind at the time, Kathleen O'Meara. I don't do this. I'm not a poetry reader, so if I do this badly, you can evaluate me at the end if you want.
I shall.
Okay.
I will critique your poetry reading.
Here's just an excerpt. And people stayed home and read books and listened, and he rested and did exercises. He made art and played and learned new ways of being, and stopped and listened, and more deeply. Someone meditated, someone prayed, someone was dancing, someone met their shadow, and people began to think differently, and people healed. And those who lived in ignorant ways and dangerous, meaningless, and heartless, they stopped, and the earth also began to heal. And when the danger ended and the people found themselves, and they grieved for the dead and made new choices and dreamed new visions and created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they were healed. And that's like a perspective from long, long ago that I think lends itself to hope today.
Oh, I think it's extremely relevant for today. And I mean, it brings to mind something that Pastor Matthew Douglas had mentioned, and I'm paraphrasing, and I, to be honest, don't know if these are his words or if he borrowed them from somebody else, but Matthew is the lead pastor at West Edge Community Church in Port Credit. He's
Cool
also
dude.
a Long Branch resident. He's a good guy. And he said, our grandparents' generation were called to war. We are called to the couch. And if I could add to that, we've got Wi-Fi, high-speed internet, laptops, Netflix. Like, it could be worse. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, entirely. You've got podcasts, for goodness sake. Okay, look, we're not going to use our time here the next time that we check in with you. But I promise you this, we'll get off of this podcast, and our next conversation will be, when can we do another one of these? If you're part of the community, you need somebody to know something, reach out to Roger now. Where can people reach you right now, Roger?
The best way, Mike, is over email at etobicoke@gmail.com.
Our main course of business in doing this is so that you know we're still here. Everybody's still in business. We are hitting pause in some ways and finding new ways to do business, as Roger and I are finding out here today doing this podcast. Thanks for being my guinea pig with this. Oh, and look at that. Just as that, I lost him. I should screen capture the last image. You're
it's
still
an
there.
interesting
Okay.
challenge. I think people are up.
We actually had our first tech blip in the whole podcast, and it happened right at the end.
I can see you.
There you go.
Let's leave it in. Let's
for
not
sure.
edit that out. That's the reality. That's the new normal. Everybody's got to deal with these little glitches.
You know what I think it is? I have a feeling that on my end, my kids started playing video games. Sorry about that. All right, we'll catch you next time. We'll do this again sooner than you think. Don't forget to reach out to Roger, and thank you for joining us. Everything's cool. We're just we're gonna get better. We're gonna get through this. Thanks for being there. We'll catch you next time.